try to make sure that we're live, and I want to get us into Telegram as well. I'm checking that. I'm trying to check our. Oh, there it is. How do I mute Telegram? That's the question.
We can't hear it. Oh, is that what that clicking is? It's feeding back in the.
What's that clicking?
His Telegram is feeding back.
Oh, okay. It sounds like he's lagging there. Or is that just me?
He's got Starlink, so it does that sometimes.
Hey, do you have fiber, Eric?
Oh, me?
No.
I got Elon's internet, man.
You need bro. You need 1 gig. 1 gig fiber, bro. With an extender in each room.
Oh. No, hey, no. What I'm trying to do is figure out. Let's try that. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's better. Sweet. I'm not hearing it now. Let me make sure I'm still hearing y'all, though. Am I hearing y'all? Maybe not.
Yeah. Can you hear?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Cool. Sorry. Welcome to 520 Collective. Yeah, man. So, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, sir. You're fine, man. We're ready to go.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just wasn't hearing you guys. So, yeah, man, we are live on YouTube and Telegram.
Let's go.
So that's the place to start. First of all, it's 520club.com. Make sure you check us out there for indie Christian culture, of course, music, news, podcast, lots of different stuff on there. So check that out. And then if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That'd be fantastic. And if you're not doing so yet, subscribe to our new Telegram channel, man. We got a lot of cool stuff there, including live streams. And this is our first live stream to Telegram. So we're pretty excited about that. We're hoping to build that up. The more people that jump in there for us, the better, because we can do some cool stuff with Telegram. But I mean, really, if you're following the channel, anything we post on the website, you're going to get access to it, and you're going to see it right there in the channel. So do that for us. That'll be what's up. Let's go ahead and shout out the people already hanging out with us in the YouTube chat. We've got Jay. What's good, man? Thanks for hanging out. Eric, for the love of hip hop, is with us. Kyle Manning hanging out.
The most blocked man alive.
All right. And we've got our guy Seventh from Adam. Oh, here comes KD back. Let's get him back up here.
Welcome back.
Seventh from Adam. Salute, fam. Yeah, man. So we'll get you on soon, Seventh. That's what's up. So yeah, man. Let me introduce everyone that's hanging out with us. We got my guy Zero for Hire.
What's happening?
And then we got KD the Vessel.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Good evening.
Yeah, man. So those are the 520 team, and then we got a special guest hanging out with us from That's a Christian Podcast. Switch. What's
podcast? Up, what up, yo?
What up? Yo. I keep pushing the DJ air horn, but I don't think y'all can hear it.
I don't hear it. So
I heard it lightly a little bit.
It was coming to my head.
You got to be like the manual sound effects, Zero.
Best I can do. I'll fix it later.
Started now.
Switch. Thanks for hanging out with us, dude. I'm glad to have you on, bro.
Yeah, thank you guys for inviting me. Eric, me and you have talked a few times, right? And this topic, I think, something that I'm very concerning to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad to be here with y'all.
Yeah, man. For sure. Tell us what's going on with That's Not Christian.
Right now, man, we're just continuing to be consistent. You know what I'm saying? Every Monday night we're out. We're podding 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're always trying to think of different ways to be innovative or provide more content or be more valuable to the space. Invite certain guests as well. So You know, we just always looking for different ways. I feel like Christian media is like in the early stages of like when Christian hip hop was first coming out. It's like, so we're still developing, we're still testing things out, we're still growing, right? Because you know, we're not like Revolt TV yet or anything like that yet, right? But eventually, you know, hopefully that's we all will pave the way for whoever's next, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. That's what's up. And you know, we had you guys on the podcast. I don't know. It's been a minute since you guys were on the podcast, but
It was like earlier this year, right? Or was it last year?
All the time goes by, man. I can't remember. I can't remember which episode it was, but we gotta get you back, man. We gotta get you guys back, or at least get you on some live streams with us this year. And I think hope I'll be stopping by your way soon. So that'll be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, you guys are always welcome on the show.
Yeah, man. So
we love cross promoting.
Dude, Jay said he's gonna need you to change the handle to "That's Not Christian."
You know what's funny about Jay? Jay is our co-host, and we asked him to get us verified on Twitter. And instead of getting the podcast verified, he got himself verified.
Wow!
And didn't get the podcast verified. So.
Wow!
I'm not listening to anything that he says.
That was gonna cost you $8.
That's them priorities, man. You know? So, oh man, the crew is hanging out in the YouTube chat. They say shout
out to the crew.
What up?
What's up, folks?
Yeah, but I think it was a mistake. I think because he had his Twitter linked and all that, and he was trying to get us verified, and he ended up getting himself verified on Twitter.
Oops, my bad.
All right, man. So we have we have a topic. You know, we talked about a topic similar to this earlier this year. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those conversations that, like Switch was saying earlier, we need to have, right? And shout out to the crew. Like I said, they're hanging out in the chat. It looks like, you know, gotta give them the credit where it's due. So this was inspired by one of their videos from, I believe, last week. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
About that time.
Yeah. So they put out a video called "Openly Gay Christian Rapper Erica Mason Gives Advice on Dealing with Hate Comments from Christians." And we were looking at the statements that she made, man, and you know, we had our thoughts. We were talking about it in the man, we were talking about it in a lot of places, to be honest with you. Like, we were talking about it in the 520 staff. We were talking about it in the podcast chat that we're in, some of us, and we were like, this seems like a conversation that we need to have out here in the open, and Christian culture needs to talk about this. So let's dive into it, man. Let's start with reading this first quote that they shared. Let me get it up on the screen here. So I want to read this whole thing, and then I want to look at it a little closer, maybe like line by line, and let you guys get your thoughts in here. So it says, "I understand that their feelings of anger, hurt, and frustration is their problem, not mine. If a Christian dislikes me, it's because I'm openly queer. That's their burden to carry, not mine." Again, so I refuse to allow someone's anger, disgust, frustration, etc. to stop me from seeing God clearly and being loved clearly. I refuse to allow someone else's bitterness to taint my sweetness. We are not the same. I stopped giving external situations, people, my power. Hope that helps someone today. You've got this, friend. So there's where it starts. And I mean, honestly, I think we just started the first statement here that she makes. And again, I want to start, actually, before we start into that, let me preface this by saying, hey, this isn't.
We got a block girls chat.
How do we do that? Let me see.
I'll try to figure it out here.
Okay.
I don't know, because I'm not a moderator.
Yeah, you should be on YouTube. You probably have to do it from there.
Just don't nobody click on nothing. Just keep going.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say, again, this isn't this isn't feelings that we have towards Erica Mason. Okay, I want to make that clear. She just happened to say these things that caught our attention, and we were like, we've heard this same kind of narrative from multiple people, so we probably need to go ahead and talk about it. So that's what we're focusing on here is the narrative and not Erica herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and look at this first part of this. It says, I understand that their feelings of anger, hurt, and frustration is their problem, not mine. I've got my thoughts, but who wants to start?
Who is they, though?
Well, of course, that's going to be a veiled. That's going to be a veiled Christians, church people. Quote unquote. Whatever kind of air quotes you want to throw up there. That's what I interpret that as. And it's concerning. And I didn't say that with my intention to go first because I wanted Switch to be able to jump in since he's the guest hanging out with us tonight. But I believe that that's the they in question. And generally, whether it's just people, period, because a lot of people outside of the body probably won't share that sentiment. So I believe that has to be a veiled shot at Christians in particular. But go ahead, Switch, chime in, bro, so we can go ahead and get the conversation started.
Yeah. So I did not read this quote. This is my first time hearing it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions as far as who's angry, right? Who's hurt and who's frustrated. And what's our interpretation of anger, hurt, and frustration, right? Is it that people are calling you out as far as what you're mentioning? You're saying, you're a Christian who you're openly gay and you love God. So for me, it's like, all right, is there because there's pushback or there's people who don't agree with you? Is that why you're saying that's their problem? Because it isn't. It's all of our problems because we're a community, right? We claim to be a part of a faith, and you're being called out on it. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe there could be obviously situations where people are speaking, talking crazy. You know what I'm saying? People get on the internet and they just start talking wild, and they could be those situations. So, I mean, that's a general statement. I'm sure it's much deeper and there's a lot more to unpack with that statement. But, I would like to know, because if I say something against it, you know what I'm saying? Am I angry or frustrated or am I hurt? Not necessarily. I just don't agree with your viewpoint. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that what you're saying is the truth. So that's just where I stand with that.
So correct me if I'm wrong real quick. The question was how she handles criticism from Christians. Is that right? Or is that incorrect?
That was a headline, at least. I didn't watch the whole
That's
video.
what I thought it was.
The perspective that she was taking. Maybe somebody in the chat can
more
knowledge can help us out there.
You're talking about the title of their video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The headline was taking criticism.
Erica Mason gives advice on dealing with hate comments from Christians.
There we go. Okay, so I would take it that way. But the interesting thing about that is this: why would somebody be hurt by a choice or a decision, or by, in this instance, a lifestyle change that you decided to adapt? Could it possibly be that because at one point in time, this is not what you were talking about? This is not the type of life that you were promoting. You were an advocate for purity. You were an advocate for waiting on the Lord to bless. You were an advocate for seeking God and seeking God through certain things like depression, etc. Could it potentially be, could the hurt be the fact that now you decided to change and adapt a message that you've been espousing for a very long time? This is how people are aware of you. This is how your platform, this is how you gain, if you will, for lack of a better term, the status that you have. Could the hurt stem from that? Now, don't get me wrong, to Switch's point, we all know, unfortunately, there are creepy people online as well as in real life, right?
Mhm.
And so even if individuals may have good intentions, there are people who don't know how to express or how to address somebody. There's people who don't know how to have those convicting conversations with people the right way, right? There's individuals whose words are not seasoned with salt. If it was automatic, the scripture wouldn't have to mention it to us to make sure that that's an approach that we take. So there's people who don't get that. And I understand that. And I hate the fact that maybe she's encountered some of that because then it lends validity to the statement. But then also to Switch's point, which I completely agree with, a lot of times we'll talk about criticism and we'll call it criticism, but it's not always criticism. A lot of times it is conviction. A lot of times we'll mistake people loving on us and trying to counsel us back into the will of God as somebody coming against us. Oh, you're attacking me because, you know, I refuse to be boxed in, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. No, I'm trying to minister to you to keep you from experiencing things that God doesn't want you to have to deal with. So all the time it's not criticism. Sometimes it's love, but we don't see it that way because of what we're fixed on at that particular point in time.
Yeah. So my thing with this first sentence, and let me
somebody chime in, man. We shouldn't have no
can you hear me?
Not on this one.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you. I don't know what
wasn't sure. Wasn't sure if KD,
Yep,
if KD
good,
can hear me or not. Okay. Well, so here's my thing with this first part of this.
Yeah, you good.
Is that when we're looking at, I understand that their feelings of anger, hurt, and frustration is their problem. To me, that comes across very much like deflection, right? And when do we deflect things? It's when we know that we're in a particular situation where there's a chance we may not be right. Now I'll follow that up by saying, and we'll get to it in just a minute, but I've got a different outlook with the next statement that the next sentence here that looks pretty similar. But that first part, that's the way it comes off, is it's starting off the comment with, let me say first that this isn't my problem. This is y'all's problem. Y'all figure out how to deal with it because I don't need to. Right. And if we're going to address an issue, we got to be able and be ready to take ownership over it. Right. Because if we get this out and say, hey, this is something that we need to talk about, but yet we don't want to have any responsibility with that, then let us not even say anything in the first place. I guess is the way that I look at it.
It's a problem.
So
that's a problem.
Yeah, because then we go on to the next part, and it says, hey, if a Christian dislikes me because I'm openly queer, that's their burden to carry, not mine.
No.
Well, but here's the thing. I actually don't. I'm not bothered by that statement because, and let me tell you why. Because whenever we say if a Christian dislikes that person specifically, then yeah, that is our problem. The Christian, like, we shouldn't dislike the person. We should dislike the act. We should dislike the sin. We should dislike the thing that's rebelling against God. Not the person, right? We're to love that person regardless of those things, right? That's what we're told to do. So that's where I'm like, you got two statements back to back that are kind of similar, but I do have two different feelings about that. What do you guys got? So let's go through those first couple, man. I mean, we got some ideas on the first. What do you guys think?
But I also feel like you said, like that's kind of like more of a deflection, or like it's just reading through the statement, right? It's like, I know you guys are frustrated. You guys are hurt. That's your problem, not mine. You guys dislike me because I'm openly, like, it's just, I don't know, like that pattern of communicating is more like, hey guys, I'm like this and that's your problem, not mine. And it's like, no, we are a community of people, right? And like the word says, in a multitude of counsel, there's safety. So we're going to have to talk about what you believe, and you're going to have to show me why you believe what you believe. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to have to go through the scriptures and kind of see if we can come to the same conclusion, because what you're saying is something that haven't heard throughout church history or in the scriptures So maybe you got something that's new that maybe we don't know that you know that maybe you need to explain to us, which obviously I don't agree with, right? But maybe, you know, she has something that she found that's a new discovery in the scriptures, which I probably think she won't see. That shows that you can be Christian and openly gay. So, you know, that to me is just showing no accountability, right? Paul himself was accountable to the apostles, you know what I'm saying? The other apostles that came before him. He came and stood and told them, look, this is what the Lord revealed to me. And they went through the scriptures, and there was even a heated like little debate, right? As far as the Gentiles coming into faith, but they still had that conversation. And it seems like to me, I don't know if she has or hasn't, to be honest, but it doesn't look like she wants to even entertain that kind of conversation. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I get what you're saying about not disliking, but it just seems like, once again, is it because we're questioning you about some of the things you said? Do you take that as dislike, or is it somebody that says I don't like you because you're gay?
Right.
Well, and on top of that, though, if we're talking about the actual issue, the actual sin, the actual rebellion, right? That's you're not saying that I dislike the person, right? So that's where I think it's a little different, right? If we are flat out going out over to someone who we're told to love and saying I don't like you because of this thing, we're not any better, right? We're not doing what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to love it. So
I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in everything.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends on how you interpret loving. And I always interpret that as more of an action. I don't like people for less than that, for less than being queer and openly Christian. Like, I might not just like the cut of your jib. I don't like you. I don't feel like I have to like you, but I do have to do right by you, and I do have to be fair to you, and I do have to show God's love through my actions. But I don't really necessarily feel like I have to like you. If that seems unfair, it's something to wrestle with. It's something to struggle with. And I'm not saying it's to her personally or anybody specifically, but I'm just saying, like, I've been there. I'm not gonna, and I have to challenge my emotions and challenge my logic of, like, what is my issue with this person? I might have come to some of you guys before, just be like, I really don't like that guy. So I don't want to, like, confuse people into thinking like you have to have warm fuzzies about everybody you meet, because that's just not realistic. But you have to show people love with our actions. We do have to do that. Like, it's a command. I think that's why God commands us as men to love our wives, because sometimes we don't have charitable feelings toward our wives. You get a bunch of guys in the room and that's going to be evident. So the other thing, I wish I could make this. Can you make the words bigger so I could see it again here? Understanding feelings of frustration and things like that, and say, like, that's not mine. That's yours to deal with. I don't really disagree with that. Like, if you got a problem and it's this big problem, it doesn't have to be my problem. But if we're coming to the table as Christians, then yeah, it becomes my problem, because especially if you're saying it's a doctrinal issue. This is about us. This isn't just about you, because in our modern 20th century way of looking at things, everything is individualistic, right? But that's not really how. You are not the owner of yourself. You belong to God. I belong to God. All this is not my stuff. This is God's stuff. He's just letting me use it. So even my own life, even my own body is not mine. If you are a slave to Christ, you don't get to have this attitude. And it doesn't matter who it is. If you're a slave to Christ, it's not my problem, your problem. You don't get to do that. You don't get to have that attitude. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a pastor, if you've been a Christian for 40 years. That's not your option.
That's correct.
To Christ. And we are still submit to each other if we're going to be righteousness, or if we're going to be righteous. So that's the issue. Like, any Christian from anywhere who's a real Christian should be able to come to me and say, hey, I think you need to chill on XYZ. I think you're, if you represent in Christ, then you're walking in error. And regardless of how they approach me, you should at least hear them out, especially if they're coming to you with scripture. I mean, as a reformer, I have to deal with people who are in the cage stage for years. But like, you hear like a little bit of admonishment and you fall apart. Like, no, actually, that's a you problem. You got to get with cage stage Christians, and they're not just reformed; they're on the charismatic side too. People are overbearing when they're zealous, and we have to level each other out. So like, you don't get to be just like soft and offended all the time because somebody's got a problem with you. Somebody's got a problem with you. That's an opportunity to build a bridge.
Well, and I think when there are people with a problem, especially if we see multiple people, it's maybe not wise to just chalk it up to, oh well, everyone is hating on me, right? Like maybe that's an opportunity for us to reflect and look in the mirror and check ourselves a little bit, right? And make sure, is there something that I need to be concerned about and looking at? The crew said in the chat, let me pull it back up here. To be fair, most people are not coming to gain understanding and perspective. And I was going to get to that later on. That's, I'm sure, is 100% true. I will say this: I haven't looked at,
I do
want to
get there eventually.
Yeah. I haven't looked at all the comments. I haven't read through everything. I don't follow Erica Mason in particular that close. Again, this isn't about her. It's just that this is a narrative that we've heard from multiple people.
Yeah, I'm taking this as an approach of somebody coming out of a denomination where this was rampant for like, I had to leave that denomination. So this is not just a personal thing for one specific person. Like, this is a Christian, like, worldwide thing that we're dealing with.
Yeah, right. And the second part of the comment, here, most people are coming to tell her why she is wrong. I don't doubt that. We see it all the time. Plenty of people on social media, whatever, that do not have the proper approach, that aren't coming out of love and concern. They're coming to, get a little popularity for a minute, to catch the spotlight or whatever. And that's not good either. Because what's that accomplishing for us if we are really about Christian culture, if we're really about the
trying to get it back?
It's not good, but ain't that human nature? Ain't that how people are? We ride on that negativity. How many people come to you and tell you that you're doing Christianity right? They always come to you when you're doing something wrong. So it's like, why are you surprised when that happens?
Well, I'm not, but my challenge
is right. I'm just like, we
and that's the thing. But that's why we're here and why we're having these conversations, right? Because we want to challenge us. We can't necessarily challenge the entire body, but maybe we can challenge this like Christian hip hop space to do better.
Yeah.
Right. And if a particular space, a particular part of the body starts doing better, maybe it can impact the rest of it.
I do want to speak to mercy and charity and understanding. I do want to speak to those things, but like, at the same time, Christian hip hop, like, I got to talk to you the same way I talk to my son. It's like, we live a lifestyle where people say, I don't agree with you, I don't like what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. Welcome to my life. Like, that's just like my everyday, all the time. And I don't even have to be doing nothing. People find out what my positions are on certain things, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, deal with it. That's how welcome to my life. Why are you surprised? And then when we get to that baseline, then we can have like a conversation. But like, you don't get to be a victim here. Like, we all deal with this crap. It might be because you're gay. It might be because you smoke and drink. It might be because you cuss too much. It might be because you got some behavioral issues that you need to deal with, period. But we all deal with this in some way. This is not new.
Yeah.
And then we can get to the mercy.
And my question is she trying to gain understanding and perspective? Is she coming to this with a humble approach, or just saying, nah, I'm openly gay and y'all just gonna have to accept that?
Deal with it.
And that's just what it is. And if you feel that way, we talk about love, but Paul says if a brother, is living out a certain kind of lifestyle, don't even eat with them. To cut that person off. you know, there was a dude that was sleeping with his I think it was his stepmom's or his dad's
Corinthians, yeah,
wife,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what Paul said to do, hand that person over to Satan. Like, nah, you not part of this. Like, you not, no. You know, and I feel like we
What
got
the
spoiled,
intention to get him back though?
you know, yeah, and
Yeah,
you know, I'm not saying like, hey, just at first glance, just cut them off. It's like, all right, I'm sure there's a process, but Paul was saying at the church, he's like, you guys should be weeping. Y'all here boasting about this. Like, this is not something to be boasting about, you know. So where do we draw that line where we start saying, nah, this, you know, this person, no, they're not part of this faith. They don't represent this kingdom that we represent.
And it's hard to like throw that on other Christians. Like, I think this is why it's important to be a part of a local body where you don't get to pick the people in your church. Y'all just believe the same stuff and you have a standard that you agree upon, and then you all struggle toward that standard. And that's the whole game. Like, I can't control people in other states and cities and stuff. Like I can't even control the local body. But like they keep me accountable, I keep them accountable. We're struggling toward the same standard. If I don't want to be some like, you know, I mean, theologically liberal congregation where they accept homosexuality, then I'll go to a denomination that doesn't accept that. I'll go to some fundamentalist or something. Like I say different strokes for different folks, and that don't make it okay with God. But I'm saying, like, if you want to be theologically liberal and hold these views, then go to that church and be accountable to those people. But don't expect the fundamentalists to accept you, because you know that you're in violation of how they understand the standard and interpretations from scripture. This is a 2,000-year-old religion. Like, people ain't just going to change because you feel a certain way. Like, there's a Rainbow Church up the street. Like, anybody in the city that wants to live that way, they can go to that church and they can all agree and do the same thing. But that don't mean the Baptists are going to accept them.
Discouraging that though.
I am, but I mean,
I get it, but and I think even to your point, one of the things that we fail to do nowadays is hold each other accountable. And we've arrived at that point because of cancel culture, because we've allowed so much of the outside to influence the inside to where we're afraid. We got people actually, you know, holding witchcraft on us because we're too intimidated to say what God says about certain things. Fear of the platform that this person has, or the followers that they got, of this false sense of power. And again, the scripture lets us know that you don't have any of this except that heaven allows it. So we've gotten to this point, to this place where we've stopped in love speaking the truth, because now everybody wants to have their truth instead of his truth, which is the only truth. And so at the end of the day, yeah, it's great. You're going to have people who are going to come out. And why shouldn't they be able to do this? Because if I can come out and say that, hey, I'm going to openly engage in a lifestyle that is contrary to what God wants, why shouldn't I expect for there to be other individuals who are going to come back and say, hey, that's not cool. If you love me, you're not going to let me stay in my sin.
Yeah, and I don't even know if we're doing that out of, I don't even know if we're doing that out of love. I don't know what that motivation is.
For us, it has to be. Like, there's no other template for us. So we can't just sit back and say, hey, she's not doing Christianity right. Even to your point earlier, if I'm attacking her words, why is there anybody else in this situation? If it's being done for any other reason, to see her redeemed or to see them brought back to a place of sobriety, to get back in right standing with God, then I'm doing it for the wrong reason.
Okay, I must have misunderstood what you said when. Okay, I understand now.
Hey, KD, would you mind?
Yes,
would you mind like disconnecting and coming back in? I think you got something going on with your mic. It's crackling.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. I want to move on to the next part, man, because the next part of the statement was really the part out of all this that jumped out the most to me. So in this next part, the statement is, I refuse to allow someone's anger, disgust, frustration, etc. to stop me from seeing God clearly and being loved clearly. I don't know. I've got a problem with anger, disgust, frustration. Those feel very much like some trigger words that's being thrown out here, right? Where we're lumping everything into an attack. And like I said earlier, I'm sure there are people that have went into the comments and this is how they've acted, right? But I also don't see a statement of, okay, or an acknowledgement of maybe we just are interpreting things different. So maybe that is where the disconnect is. So if so, cool, I'm gonna keep it moving. No, there's not that. It's everything appears to be lumped into these very negative terms, right? Of anger, disgust, frustration. And here comes KD back in here. So let's get him back in and see
There he
how
is. Okay.
he's doing. And I get it. But at the same time, for me, I don't really view it as, no matter what someone feels about me, I'm not worrying about it too much, and I'm sure not letting it affect how my relationship is with God, right? And how I interact with Him, how I believe He sees me. So there's a here where it sounds like at some point some of these feelings and these responses that have come from other people have affected that ability. So there's some concern there for me as well. What do you guys think? I know we've got
We haven't heard
some
from
comments
Switch
here.
in a minute here.
So Switch, jump on in here, man. What do you think of this part?
Can you repeat that again? That part. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me pull it up here for you so you can take a look. So it says, I refuse to allow someone's anger, disgust, frustration, etc. to stop me from seeing God clearly and being loved clearly.
Okay. I'm sorry because I was reading the Cruz the Cruz comment.
Oh, there's a lot of chats here. Yeah, our chat is broken. Our chat window is broken. I'm sorry, guys. We haven't been responding at all.
Yeah, that you see, that's a good point. It says, I believe that the problem is people are only held accountable on things culture, religion, society deems worthy of accountability. Being homosexual is the ultimate no in Christianity.
No, it's not.
We're selling
being
it that way, but it's
apostate
not.
is the ultimate no in Christianity.
There's a lot of abominations in Christianity.
You see the thing here is like, I don't. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's got a point as far as, you know, there's things that we've heard, right? In CHH, right? In CHH community, not just CHH, because I even say church, right? Because I've been a part of church and I've heard stories and, you know, similar things and things like this. But very rarely have I heard someone say I'm an openly adulterer or I'm an open, you know, I openly am a fornicator. And, you know, most of the time it's kind of like a secretive thing and things that just they get exposed or they get caught or they end up confessing. This situation to me is a little different because this is saying I'm openly, like, I'm cool with my sin. I'm cool with this of what y'all deem as sin. So for me, it's like, you know, like, it's not about it being the ultimate no. I just feel like with her situation and other people's situation, saying it openly becomes a problem. You know what I'm saying? Becomes a problem. So, you know, I mean, and you know, I'm sure we all struggle with different things and we can try to hide our sin, right? And bury it. And, you know, we either get caught or, you know, we confess it or however it is, or we got accountability. But this openly stuff is to me is very dangerous. You know, to our faith, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and what we're seeing a lot, what we're seeing a lot of, you know, beyond dealing with this directly in the body, right, is we're seeing a nation and a society that's working overtime at this point to make all this normal.
Bullshit. No.
And, you know, something to not even think twice about. And that's dangerous, to be honest. It's dangerous in a lot of ways, right? Because from this side of it, again, we go back to the people who don't respond the right way, you know, out of love and out of the example that Jesus set for us. And that causes even physical danger, you know, for people on the LGBT side of it, right? At times. So that's why I don't want to. I don't want to let accountability on either side of the issue go. I want to make sure that we know that there is that accountability for everybody, because when we're dealing with people who have a different view or maybe have a skewed perspective on the word, right? We have a real opportunity, and we miss it way too often. We miss it way too often.
Agreed.
And on the other side, I feel like we also taking the hit as like because it's homosexuality, we kind of like dance around it and like, yeah, we want to love them. We want to like, if this was somebody just saying, yeah, I openly kill people, shoot people for a living, like we would be like, nah, your man is buggy, your man is wild. But when it comes to homosexuality, because I feel like because some of us, even before we even came to Christ, we kind of wasn't, we didn't see it as right. Some people were just like, like I know dudes that been in jail and be like, nah, I don't rock with homosexuals. I can see how when we come to Christ, sometimes we're just a little more soft with it. You know what I'm saying? But
because Christians could never be mean about anything.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But then, if it was like, like a Garvey situation that got kind of blown out crazy,
Be careful, Switch.
the dude made an apology.
careful.
The dude made an apology, and his apology to some people wasn't sincere enough. It was like, nah, we don't rock with dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're not messing with him. But then this is like, oh, it's homosexuality. Let me cater it. Let me, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think that goes back to what the crew was saying in the chat, is that we struggle being consistent. We really do.
Let me jump in here. The reason I jumped out about the ultimate no, like homosexuality is a big, like, hot topic in our culture. That's a hot button issue in our culture. That's like an agenda that's being pushed hard. And I don't know. I'm not going to say I don't know why. I feel like there are reasons why. But in the church, the ultimate no is just what Switch was saying. Is saying, I'm going to walk in this sin and you can't tell me nothing. That's the ultimate no. That's outright rebellion. That's teaching things adjacent to the gospel that are opposite of the gospel and being like, calling good evil and calling evil good, turning people away from the church just because you feel like it. When I said apostate, he responded with liar. So I'm going to have to look and see, maybe that was the definition that he came up with. That the big issue is, how do you synthesize Christianity with homosexuality?
There you go.
We're not asking the right questions when we get into these like social debates, because it is same-sex attracted people out here in the church fighting for their life because they are striving for holiness. They want to be Christ-like. They want to be holy, and they have this issue that they're dealing with, and we out here making it a lifestyle and a social issue. And that's why I get offended, because there are same-sex attracted brothers and sisters out here fighting for their life, and we are glib about it on both sides of the issue. And that I don't rock with that. I don't rock with being glib about people's sin. I might try to be funny and a little curmudgeonly because that's my character. But like when it gets down to it, there's people that I love that are dealing with this stuff, and they are fighting for holiness. That's the thing that's going to take them down. It's like knowing you got cancer and that's how you're going to die. Everybody else, we might get hit by a bus, a shot. We don't know how we going to die, but the guy who has cancer knows how he going to die. That's how this homosexual issue is. That's the thing that's pulling you away from holiness the strongest. And you out here fighting for your life for holiness, or you are not. And that's the attitude, is like, well, this is who I am. And but no, you ain't here to be who you is. You here to be like Christ. You here to be like Christ, or I ain't interested in anything you got to say. And this is whether you homosexual or prideful or whatever it is. I don't care. I'm trying to be like, I'm out here fighting for my life, trying to raise kids, trying to be a good husband. I don't have time for people just being like, well, that's just who I am. No, you're going to drag me down and make me fall in sin. I don't want to be around people like that. I want to be around people that's pushing me toward holiness. And if you can't get on that, then don't be in my squad. Like that's why so many people in the church are pushing back for it. It is a life or death situation. It's not a social issue.
Yeah, we don't view it like that, but I enjoyed that. Can y'all hear me? Am my
Yeah.
audio
Yeah,
good?
you
All right.
crispy now.
Yeah, much
So
better, much better.
hey, yo, listen, Zero. Thank you, because it is that serious, and some of us take holiness for granted, like it's a suggestion from God when it's actually a commandment. Be ye holy, and it's mentioned more than once in Scripture. So God repeats Himself so that we
He's
get
serious
the
about that.
idea that hey, I'm a holy God, and if you're recreated now in my image and likeness through what I did for you through Jesus Christ, this is my expectation for you. And one of the things that I love about God is that God never asks us to do anything that He has not equipped us to be able to do. And that is regardless of where we are in our stages in development in our walk, whatever that situation looks like. God does not ask of us anything that He has not equipped us to be able to do. Okay. We talk about grace. We talk about mercy. We talk about these things. They are available for us to be able to tap into the strength that we need. We're not doing this in and of ourselves. And it's important that we make sure that we remember that. So when I make a choice and a decision to say yes to the temptation, I have to understand the ripple effect that it creates. Part of what sin does is sin ostracizes. It's the nature of sin. If sin separates you from God, why wouldn't sin separate you from God's people by default? It is tied in. This is what happens. So again, remember now, if I'm making these choices and these decisions and they come along with consequences, you reap more than what you sow. How is it that we all of a sudden, oh my goodness, we're not talking about excommunicating, because everything that God does, even from a correctional standpoint, is with the intent of getting the individual back to where they need to be. And that's where we need to get to with regards to our hearts in terms of redemption, things of that nature, right? But in a statement, getting back to this, if I say that I'm not going to allow somebody else's issue to keep me as an openly gay individual from seeing God clearly, you've just contradicted yourself. Because there is no way that I can say that I am openly gay and I see God clearly. It's impossible. Okay, let's just be realistic. Now, here's the other flip side of this, and where we go back to the follow-up part to that, or to keep me from being loved clearly. And so now we're talking about the one part of God's character that comes with no strings, no conditions. And this is why now you'll see this. This is the same argument, right? When you talk about, same-sex marriages, which again, there's legislation that's being passed as we speak to further ingrain and protect them in law. We've talked about it. I shared a link in our staff chat the other day. There's things that are going on, guys. And so when we talk about this and we talk about, well, why would a loving God not want individuals to love whoever they love? Isn't this God a God of love? Why do we always fall back on the one part of God's character that comes with no condition? The promises, they have conditions. The judgment of God has conditions. If you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be blessed. That's judgment. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be judged. That's judgment. Okay. But the one part of God's character that does not have any strings, God loves you regardless, no matter what. But by the same token, He's angry with the wicked every single day. That's scripture. Why? Because He loves the person, but He hates to see them walking in things that He did not create them to. This is a reality. And this is something that we have to make sure that we share in the right way so that individuals get it. Because at the end of the day, guess what? You cannot rewrite scripture. I don't care whatever type of version you're trying to create it. You can't make your own Bible.
Yeah.
But this is what a lot of individuals attempt to do.
And that's where the confusion is coming into play, right? You talked about that part of the statement where talking about seeing God clearly. They don't understand that they're not seeing God clearly right now, right? Because
sin does that to you, though.
Well, yeah, because we're confusing love for
acceptance, approval, permission.
Well, I'm saying, like, whenever we have someone who is openly living this queer lifestyle, right? We hear it a lot of I love God. No, I think you're infatuated with God. You're interested in God, but you're not willing to stop rebelling against His desire for you, right? But they think that they truly love Him, and like there's been a lot of it going on in the chat, talking about all the other issues. Yeah, man. If I do any one of these,
a lot of sexual sin to
yeah.
pick from. It's not just
I'm-
homosexuality.
right.
Right.
Well, I mean, plenty of sin that even doesn't have anything to do with sexuality at all, right?
Correct.
And any of it means that I'm not loving him at that point, right? So yeah,
and also submitting, right? Like it's also what the word says to humble yourself, and submit. You're submitting your life to God. You know what I'm saying? Paul says, it's no longer me that lives, but him. I am a slave to the word of God, to the gospel. So just like that parable where Jesus was talking about the religious people that went to the church, and then there was the temple, and then there was the other sinner who was there, right? And the religious people were judging the sinner like, oh, I'm not like this guy who's a tax collector and this and that.
I love the scripture, yeah.
And we always talk about that to say, oh, you see how we shouldn't be overly righteous and judgmental, and it's true, right? But the other side of it is the person that came was humble enough to say, Lord, I'm a sinner. You know what I'm saying? It's saying, yes, it's acknowledging your sin. I mean, most of us are, when we came to faith, was acknowledging that we needed a change in our life. The way that we live in is headed for destruction. And if you don't realize that, I have to question where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? I have to question like whether you even know God, or maybe you did know him, or you possibly did know him, but you strayed away, or I mean, we can get into that whole once they always
something is off,
right?
Though, yeah,
something's wrong there.
If you look at the holiness of God and you don't look at yourself right after and be like, I am trash. Like, I'm trying my best. God, give me the grace. Maybe cover it. Can we work something out here? But like, I'm not gonna fill this gap by myself. Like, how else can you look at it? Like, you look at God, you look at what he represents, you look at everything he stands for, everything he commands, and you're like, that's a tall drink of water, and I'm just not up to it. I do the best I can. Can I try? And then we look, Jesus covers the rest. Like, that's the beauty of the gospel.
Yeah.
The bad side of the gospel is that we are trash. Like, you can't just have all the lovey fuzzies and stuff, because that's Jesus. That's the part that we don't get to take no credit for. I can take credit for trash. I am sinful. I am prideful. I am angry, don't treat people right, don't think the right way, say the wrong thing all the time, put my foot in my mouth, all this dumb stuff, make dumb mistakes all the time. Like, how do you look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm just me, I'm the way I is? No, we are trash, especially in comparison to holiness. But that's the beauty of the gospel, is that Jesus fills in that gap. Like, there's nothing to brag about. There's nothing to be proud of. I'm just me. I'm out here fighting for my life, trying to be the best that I can. And I'm failing at it every day. That's the crazy thing about it. Every people who say like, I'm doing the best I can, we fail at that every day.
No, we're not supposed to be doing the best we can. It's don't
well,
work like that.
And that goes back to, I said the other night, I can't remember where I said it at exactly, because I've been having so many conversations like this week. But I said that a real problem that we have, especially for our community, right? Mm-hmm. For the CHH community, is when we have these conversations, we talk about topics like this, a lot of us don't like to go back to scripture, right? We want to do the I think thing, right? We want to read from our I think New American Standard version of the Bible, right? And and that's not how it works, man. Like I love that Jay said this in the chat, man. I had it up a second ago. I'm gonna bring it back up. It said not only are people that are trying to bring the viewpoint into it, not only, I think he was referring to whenever I was saying about you're not actually loving God at that point. He said that, and they say that the forefathers of the faith got it wrong, right? One thing that I've said for a long time, man, is that we try to make a lot more gray area in the word than there is. There's very
Facts.
little
None of
gray
this is new.
area.
None of this is new.
Facts.
Yeah,
None
it's
of
black
it
and
is
white.
new.
Discover something nobody ever thought of.
But if it was okay, Sodom and Gomorrah would still be around today.
Yeah.
If God was good with it, he would have told Lot, hey, just chill. You know what I'm saying? And deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good.
Let me pull this up here, man, because I think we're not that far from where they were, to be honest with you. I had someone send this. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. I'm going to show it to you on my phone here. But this is an actual billboard that is up in LA right now. I don't know if you guys can see this. It says, sorry, it's my first time being gay. That's a billboard up in LA right now.
Well, it is LA.
Well, I know, but still. Like, I think I was talking to Brinson, and I was like, dude, like, okay, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed for this kind of stuff, right? Like, how bad exactly did it have to be whenever you're looking at where we are currently in this society?
Yeah.
How bad
well,
did it have to be?
let's consider, and again, I don't want to delve off because I bet you what I'm getting ready to say, Zero would jump on it. And then we're going to take this conversation to a whole nother
I'm
place.
going to control myself. I don't know what you're talking about.
Think about, listen. Think about the pride parades, man. We've given homosexuality an entire month on top of creating laws and trying to turn ultimately what is a perversion and an abomination and sexual preference into a civil rights issue. Just think about that. And now we talk about, hey, COVID, man, everybody got to lock down, shut it down, get to the crib, man. You know what I'm saying? And not just in the States, in the entire world, across the globe at the same time. What else could provoke and promote? And yes, sin is in the earth, we understand that, but how long are we going to continue to celebrate sin or sit by and allow it? Remember, no response is a response. How long are we going to continue to celebrate sin or come into agreement with sin without saying something? In Romans 1, Paul says, not only them that do, but those that take pleasure in them that do. No response is a response. How long are we going to sit by and just say that, hey, live your life, live your truth, it's all good, when we know that God is not okay with that?
Yeah. Well,
and then look at the fruits of those types of things.
And that's the problem of where we're at right now, right? Because we're not saying that, or at least I'm not. We're not saying that an individual who identifies as queer or lives a queer lifestyle shouldn't be in the church. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying get them out of there. That's where they need to be, right? We all need to be there because we all got something that we need to be there for.
Need to be there. They need.
Like I said, we got a lot of same-sex brothers and sisters fighting for their life. But if you ain't struggling, I don't know.
But the body has not done any favors by starting to be scared, right? We're scared of society and we're scared of the world, even though we're told that all this stuff is going to happen to us, and we need to, realize that God is true to his word. This stuff is going to happen and it's going to get worse to us. But not only that, we take it a step further of now we're affirming all of this as well. We're not just saying, hey, come in here, let us come alongside you, let's support you, let us help you along this, this difficult path you're on right now. We're saying, you know what, come in here, let's just make it easier for you right now, right? No, that's not us. That's not us loving. that is not love on our fault. That's on our part. That's why whenever we talk about these things, I'm always trying to see both sides, because I don't ever want us to sit back and say, well, it's this person over here. This is where the problem is. It's not. No, we have plenty. So let's point at ourselves.
So let me say this, though, and let me tie this part in right here, because this has been making the rounds on social media, and I'm sure a lot of us have seen it. It's kind of like that whole little template statement where they say, when Jesus hung out with sinners, they changed, he did. When we talk about, Jesus eating with the tax collectors, except people who were considered sinners by the, spiritual, political hierarchy of the day. His interaction with them and his engagement with them threw them off. And so we're not talking about just completely writing individuals off, but we are talking about still, and even within that, being able to have those hard conversations being able to say something to somebody, because again, love has to be our basis for everything. Okay, that's us. That's our hallmark. That's how we're supposed to be, where we're supposed to be at. I have to be able to have a conversation with you, whether you know me or not. Should unrepentant practicing pedophiles be allowed to be members of the church?
That's a different conversation.
No, yeah, that's a whole.
Should unrepentant,
that's a whole.
Okay, should unrepentant fill in the blank sin allowed to be members of the church? There you go.
No. So time out. Because there's a place that we have to arrive to, right? Because at the end of the day, one thing that I'm not fully aware of is how wretched my sin is, because I've been in it. It's been comfortable to me. This is something that's familiar to me. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is why the word has to be preached. This one, I've got to protect the congregation. I've got to protect children in the congregation.
Real saints get violent.
Well, fathers, even that, we shouldn't be in that space. But again,
you getting sweet on somebody's
we have to be taught. That's a problem. That's a problem. But we have to be taught right from wrong. It's one of the important reasons about going to church. And so, this is my soapbox. Eric knows it. Zero knows it. Switch, you find out that we got to be, and Zero talked about it earlier, having that community. Why? Because there are certain things that community allows me to see. When I'm in isolation, I am not alerted to. I'm not aware of. Isolation is the friend of the enemy, right? Because it can get you to do certain things, okay? Because you don't have any gauge or any barometer. And maybe I don't know God enough or know enough about him. Maybe I'm not as in deep and ingrained in the scripture as I need to be. So that when things come along and the enemy sends temptation, I have a gauge. I'm able to try the spirit. Or I'm able to gauge and measure, comparing spiritual things with spiritual things. Maybe I don't know enough. I need church.
You need good people around you
to minister to me. I need people who have my best interest at heart, who are going to speak and say over me what God has said about me. But again, sin separates and sin ostracizes. So now, not only is it, and it's not always that the people in the church want to kick me out, but sometimes it's because I don't want to be around them. By choice and by me choosing to sin, I don't want to be around folks who will convict me and try to talk me out of what it is that I find myself in. Because we know that this is not always a situation. I know somebody who was in the CHA space who was engaged to a guy that I know, years ago. He, unfortunately, has passed. She now is professing lesbian. But you weren't always. You weren't. You didn't start out like this. You were engaged to my homeboy. But this is where we are. And so again, this isn't something that's always been. Yeah, there may be trauma and stuff like that, and that's what we have to minister to. But at the end of the day, give us a chance to minister to that. Don't just sit back and say, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm going to be, and me and God, we still good. We still on a no. That is not how this works.
Yeah. I also think that, we get asked to hear out where other people are coming from, right? But when we start trying to share where we're coming from, we get cut off. That's not okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. If we're gonna hear us out, and let's talk and let's try to find common ground somewhere so that we can build on this stuff.
I'm looking at the comments, and I feel like I need to. I can't get in the weeds about it, but not all sin is equal. Like, sin is sin, but sin has different consequences.
Come on.
Not all sin is equal. A little white lie is not the same as slapping somebody. Like, they're different things. So, like, this whole whataboutism, what about this? What about this? And then there's also there's this thing that people do, and we see you when you do it. So, it's not new. It's not surprising. You're not catching us off guard. This thing that people do where they posit an extreme case as if it's the norm. Stop doing that. Let's just talk about normal cases and stuff. What if somebody comes in here a cannibal? That's not normal. How many times have you counted a cannibal? You don't have to do all that. We could just have a normal conversation.
Right. We're talking about a real situation, right?
And all these arguments are built on these extremes now, right?
Yeah.
like everything, and social media, you know, makes it easy to do. That's why, as much as we can get here face to face and have these conversations, because when you're actually legitimately talking to someone, it's hard to get super crazy unless you're, I don't know. I hate to do this to him because I don't necessarily think he's as crazy as what people are saying, but you know, we were talking about Kanye earlier. I mean,
Oh no, he's a
Kanye
great
can go,
example.
Kanye can go
got the right
on
people around you.
Yeah, Kanye can say whatever he wants, right? And it doesn't matter how crazy it is. But you know, but for us talking, I can't get super crazy. Y'all are going to call me on it and shut that down real quick.
Let me say
Switch,
half
I
this
cut
stuff.
you off.
Let me
My
say
dude
half
from
the stuff
church.
Kanye says.
My dudes from church, they gonna be like, "What is your problem?" Like in my face, you know. Like,
Dude,
But at that though, you don't have to try to interpret their intent. You don't have to try to, well, man,
I
what did they
already
mean
know.
when they sent this text or this post? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to filter through any of that. So having the conversations are necessary. That's important.
Before Switch, I think I cut you off, man. I want to hear you get
Sorry,
crazy
bro,
like
yeah.
Kanye. Do it.
Listen, man.
He baited you, bro. He
Listen,
baited
man. White supremacy. I love white supremacy too, man.
No,
you know what I'm
no,
saying?
no,
I got
don't
no
say nothing that
problem with
somebody
it.
can
You
clip.
know what I mean?
Don't say nothing that somebody can clip. They'll hold it against you. No, real talk. Like you say stuff on the internet, and it can ruin your life.
Yeah, man.
So I don't know. I mean, so I guess we should look. Should we look at the? We'll read it because I've got it.
We'll
shut
go
off
through some
here.
of these chats.
I want to look at who do you want to address? Hey, Rick, man, there's so many people here. Shout out to J
Man,
Air,
I'm not used to
Intellect,
this. Y'all
B
lit.
Plus, Riggs, Grow Back Up is in here. Man, there's so many. Hula.
What's
CHS,
good, family?
That's
What
cool.
up? What
Yeah,
up? What
man.
up?
I mean, shout out to everyone hanging out with us,
Hey,
man.
it's LA.
Supporting us.
What up?
Riggs been listening while house cleaning. He says that's the life right there, man. Riggs, I need to holler at you, man. I tried to hit you up earlier today, actually.
Oh, yo, what's good? What's good?
Yeah, man. So,
hey, can we hit on one thing real quick, bro? And I want to make sure to bring this point out because it's one of the things that really stuck out to me from this whole thing. One of the things that popped up because I did watch the whole crew episode in regards to this. One of the things that stood out to me wasn't necessarily in this particular statement, but it was Instagram post of hers, and in it, I think it said like, name something that people said that you can't do that you're doing. And on this picture of herself, she says, be openly. Then she has the rainbow, and then it says still love God. And then on the back end of that, it says, and I've never been happier. And I that stood out to me. And I mentioned this to you, Eric, when we were kind of talking about this. One of the things that you hear, and one of the things that we have to make sure that as the body of Christ, we dispel, is that there's absolutely no way that you go from having whatever your relationship is with the Lord, whether it's great, whether it's fair to Midland, whether you in lockstep with the Lord, or whether God got to drag you along to some places. There's no way that you leave that space where you're covered and step into something knowing that it's outside of God's will, and then you say that you've never been better. You've never been happy. Not only do we see it in situations like this, but when we see it, when individuals decide that they want to deconstruct the faith and they're no longer a Christian, well, I've never been more free. You're lying. But it's not just you trying to convince your audience. Got to bear in mind that individuals in this particular situations are more than likely being oppressed by a spirit. So not only are they trying to convince the people that they're interacting with, but guess what? That spirit is still trying to work on them. And so they'll say certain things out loud, to purse certain things so that they can continue to internalize, to even wrap their own minds around the spot and the space that they now currently find themselves in. But it's important that we understand it. And there should be under no circumstance will we allow individuals to believe that you can go from living saved to not living saved and be in a better space. You were already there. You were already had a life before Christ. There's no way now that knowing Christ and then leaving Christ is a better decision for you to make. I just had to make sure that I put that out there because, again, this is the narrative, because we try to convince people that, hey, I'm good, I'm cool, and that ultimately either me and God are cool with this new state and condition, or the absence of God in my life has improved my life. That is a lie.
Well, the thing there is that it makes it easier, right? I mean, Kanye may be crazy, maybe he's not. I don't know. But one thing he got right was what was the song? Was it Use This Gospel, maybe, where he said it's a hard road to heaven? It's true, man.
Facts.
Yeah, I prayed for the dude, man. Like, I'm not gonna get on the Kanye.
Yeah,
thing.
we could talk
Now,
about
it's
Kanye
It's a
later.
whole
Speaking.
different conversation.
KD, the only thing I would say about that is, yes, I agree with you, but I also feel like if they're giving over, right? Like if God gave them over to their lust, their passions, and their desires, then of course they're gonna think that, like, oh, I'm free. Because you've been given over to what you wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? So now you feel like you have this freedom, and there's a way that seems right to man that leads only to destruction, right? So you can feel like, yeah, I'm right. I got this freedom I never had before. And you're not, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing I would say to that as well. You know what I mean?
I agree. I just hate that it gets put out there. You know what I'm saying?
I would ask anybody who considers themselves a Christian if they value holiness over happiness, because I don't see those as the same things. Like when I was training and when I was being mentored, my mentors would always tell me that the joy of the Lord is different than your happiness in the moment. And we would go through scripture studies, and so it was something that was kind of hard for me to understand because I just came from a very impulsive lifestyle where you just do what you do what makes you happy. And like now I understand. I give you a really good example. I always tell people my first son made a man out of me. Like I had no idea what it meant to be a man until we started having kids. And like you look at people who are just like, ew, kids, it's just like, wow, there's genuinely something wrong with you. Because like when you have kids, you understand joy on a deeper level than you could before that. And there's an analogy there with walking with Christ. God is the creator and the bringer of joy. So when somebody says like they're happy, like happy is like laughing at a funny joke, like you. I shouldn't say this. I imagine Patrick from SpongeBob, you know, that goofy laugh he has. It's just like that's happy. Yeah, but like joy is like think about your grandma, you know, laughing at because something you did that was cute. You're like there's a difference there. And then the other thing I want to bring in the comment on what KD said about like when you're signaling to your audience, because that phrase did remind me of, or it did trigger in my mind like virtue signaling. Like I've never been happier, blah blah blah. Like to me that seems like a virtue signal. That takes me back to Matthew 6, where he's talking about like when you give to the poor, when you do these good things, when you pray, when you're serving God a certain way, like just do what you're gonna do. Do what you're gonna do to serve God. Don't be standing out there praying all out and showing, oh, look how much I'm giving, and make sure you put my name in the bulletin. It's like, because at the end of that passage, he says they have their reward. And their reward is that little virtue signal. That's their reward, but they don't get rewarded by God. Like if we're going to be judged, and we're going to remember, we're going to be judged for the good and the bad things that we do. Like being happy and being judged by God are in the same basket. Like you're going to be judged in a good way for good things that you actually did, or you could be judged in a bad way for virtue signaling. And so like he gonna let you have your little happiness now if that's what you living for this fleeting moment. But our life is just a vapor. I don't want to spend eternity regretting, virtue signaling now when I could have been serving God. I mean, it's one thing, like we're gonna forget, we're gonna mess up, we're gonna do those things, and God has grace, but it's like our general posture is I want to make God happy. Like that has to be the priority. Your general posture is I want to serve God. I want to make God happy. I want to make God proud of me, or whatever that positive thing is. Happiness, going to work don't make me happy, but it's good for me. Like this that can't be your priority.
Grow the Heck Up says it pretty well right here, man. He says, they say happiness is scary and horrible metric for being right with God. Mary was blessed among women and likely had a very difficult life. obedience doesn't make me happy all the time, and that's very true.
Facts.
Very
Facts.
true.
Facts.
I'll come back there when we're done, okay?
So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There I'll be honest. There was a second part of that statement that we haven't even got to, and I don't know that we will. To be honest with you, we'll get there for a while. But at the end of the day, I don't know. This idea of queer Christianity, it's just one of several things that keeps getting pushed. You know, I was talking. Who was I talking with? I don't know. Dude, like I say, I've been having a ton of conversations, but I was talking with someone earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, and I said, I really feel like we're at a point where God's telling us, you're going to have to make a choice one way or another, and you're going to have to stand strong. You're going to have to stand behind it, because I don't know. It's hard to look at what's happening out here in the world and not feel like that's where the point we're coming to right now. And so my challenge to us is that we know where it is we stand, and we are bold behind that. What do you guys? What's your guys' thoughts on whatever? I mean, final thoughts, whatever. We can look at what else we got in the chat here too. But take it away.
I completely agree with that. Like, I want God to judge everyone according to their deeds, including myself. And that should be a motivating factor for all of us. Judgment doesn't have to be as bad as it could be if your goal is serving God. And like when I think when I walk with God's judgment in the forefront of my mind regularly, his love is a part of that. Like he's his accepting me into eternity is a part of that, or it could be, or it could be something totally different. Like that's a lot of that's really up to you. Like how you want to deal with this stuff now. Deal with it with the light, with the mind that God's gonna judge you according to your actions, according to your deeds, and that should sober you up a little bit so you can make better decisions.
Yeah, let's read a couple of these comments here. So J Air Music says, when your understanding is out of bounds, you can steer your conscience to the degree that you still feel good with God while doing the thing that separates you from him. Who wants to respond to that?
That's Romans.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, agree.
Switch, you got thoughts
on that comment? No, I
100%
agree with that, man. That's just
okay.
That's the word right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. God chasers in the building. People think you are against them, but they're actually fighting against God's commandments. That's the part that isn't acknowledged.
Facts. I just think we need to do a better job. And I think somebody mentioned consistency earlier. We need to do a better job about calling out everything. Mm-hmm. And we need to do a better job about our approach and how we call out everything, because unfortunately, we're too often spotty on both sides of that coin. So,
yeah. And this is also the cost of our faith, right? Like when Jesus says, you know, serve me, hate your mom, hate your dad, hate your, like when we start to really protect what we believe and what our foundation is, right? You know, I mean, we could talk about the world all day, right? About what's in Hollywood and all that stuff. But our main focus really is the church, right? I mean, of course, we want to spread the gospel and be a light to the world, but these matters inside the body are what we need to protect. You know what I'm saying? And this is part of it, right? This is part of, you know, us having a difference of opinion, standing on our truths, and no longer being associated with certain people because of that. You know what I'm saying? And certain people not even associating with us because they feel like, oh, nah, they too judgmental, or they're, you know, too Christian, whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? This is the cost that it comes with being a disciple of Christ. And I think that that's what we need to really start preparing for as we keep going forward, because it's like war, man. You in the war and you're gonna start seeing the homie that was riding with you, and you thinking that yo, what happened to him?
And we've overlooked that for a while, and that's what's allowed us to get to this point, man. And that's why, you know, there's all this other stuff happening, but man, we're going to be called to the carpet as well on this stuff, right? Man, Riggs said the American church is soft based on an incomplete notion of love. This is the result. You won't find any queer Islam movements gaining traction anywhere, even America.
I don't know if that's really fair because like we don't chop people's heads off and stuff like they do.
Grow the heck up said people scared of that Crayola gang too. That's true.
Yo,
I mean, that's true. We said it earlier. Like
alphabet people turn up.
I'm gonna tell you a story. A bunch of people jumped down my friend's throat over some joke that he posted online, and I jumped on defending him, but it was in the context of the Rainbow Gang. These people are relentless, and they keep going. They get up in the morning like, I'm gonna prove my point, and then they go to sleep, and then they get up in the morning, I'm gonna prove my point. Like, we got to balance our life. Or there are people that's all they think about, and I'm out here trying to have relationships. I'm defending my friend. I'm like, y'all not gonna just dump on him like that. Some of these people, I really feel like, are trying to ruin my life locally in real life. Wow. Like, I go out in public, I can hear them talking. They think I don't hear. I hear them talking. You know, that causes you job opportunities. That costs you, you know, that hurts my business for speaking against that stuff and for standing up for the truth. And I'm telling you, like, standing up for the truth is going to cost you something. And the Rainbow Gang is going to make sure that if you look at them the wrong way, they're vindictive. They're going to get back at you. They're going to make it where you going to pay that cost. And that's, I mean, I signed up for this. I already knew this was coming. I'm just saying, like, it's a real thing. It's real.
Hey, and
at least they equal opportunity, though. They'll cancel anybody, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, they're a lot like vegans to me. Like, if you still eat meat, like, what you doing, man? We finna force vegetables and vitamins down your throat. You know what I'm saying? Like, every single day, man. They are ridiculously tenacious, man. But again, they don't care if it's a Christian or non-Christian.
Bro,
they went after Kevin Hart, man. They made Eddie Murphy apologize for stuff that was in Delirious and Raw back in the 80s. And we in the 2020s.
Yeah.
And y'all got this man apologizing, man.
It's not something you can just joke about. Like, we're legit finna move to another state because of this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, I feel this is a good time for me to say this too. Shout out to Voss, man, Voss Cornerstone, for some conversation we've had. He encouraged this, and I need to do this, man, because you know, some of you may be coming on here checking out these conversations that we've been having the last little bit. You're seeing this, and I can tell you this, man. We got more coming along this line as we head into 2023, and you may think, you know, 520 Collective, that is, you know, the platform where we promote independent Christian hip hop, right? And that's still true. That's where we started. That's still part of our hearts, right? We still want to highlight these artists, and I feel like we're doing a good stuff. We're setting up some stuff. I'm excited. We're going to be able to tell you guys real soon about it. Some things we're putting in place that hopefully artists could take advantage of in the next year that will help make their journey a little bit easier as well. So be listening for that. But why are we having these kind of conversations on this platform now when we're supposed to be an indie, you know, Christian hip hop site? It's because we feel as a unit, right, over this past year especially, that God's been putting this opportunity in front of us and wanting us to grab it and run with it, right? We've seen these kinds of conversations happening out in social media, and people just responding with their Twitter fingers, and no one actually having real conversation, no one getting anywhere with it. And we said, yo, we could have these conversations, and we've had it a few different places, right? Twitter Spaces, on our Discord, etc. We can have these conversations with these difficult conversations, with these difficult topics, and have it hopefully in a correct way. And we can steward it, and we can foster them in a safe way, so that hopefully there is some sort of progress, some sort of productive outcome from those as well. So I know we haven't talked about it directly. Eric, I wanted to do it right now. Yeah, switch.
Eric, I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask everybody a question. Do you think that some of the people who are leading forward in CHH should be more vocal about this kind of situation or this stuff, or are they not like aware of it, or is this something that they don't have to necessarily touch on? Because I just noticed, like, when it comes to this, I feel like you know, and I'm not judging anyone. I'm not saying I don't, you know, I'm not trying to take shots. I just noticed that some of the pioneers or some of the people that are leading the CHH, right, the Christian rap realm, have been very quiet when it comes to this situation.
Yeah.
And so, do you guys think that they should be more vocal, or maybe, you know, maybe even be on a podcast like this or other podcasts and express what they feel?
Yeah, man. So here's my thoughts on it, and I'll let Katie and Zero answer it as well. But my thought for it is, I think you need to be plugged in to what you feel like the spirit, how the spirit is leading you, right? Because some people, maybe there's certain topics that they're not ready to speak up on, right? But at the end of the day, should we be willing to have that conversation? I think, yeah, right. We should, of course. Why? Because people like to say, hey, Christian hip hop reflects the mainstream, right? How many mainstream rappers speak on these kind of topics or get asked about them and they give their 2 cents, right? We should be able to do that. It should be kind of easy for us as well, right? Because we have the word to refer to. So it doesn't even have to be us trying to figure out what the answer is. We got it there. We just need to quote it. We need to point people back to it. And we shouldn't be afraid to say it either. You know, and if we do it out of love, then why not? Because I mean, at the end of the day, this is bigger than Christian hip hop, right? We have a bigger mission, a bigger purpose about it. You know, even if you're an artist, right? I don't want. I would hate for someone to affect their music career by saying something, but at the end of the day, what matters more to you, that music or the mission that you've been, you know, given as far as spreading that gospel, man. So why not have these conversations? Why not try to impact people? KD Zero, who wants to go?
I'll go. One, it's important that you are in a local church. People keep you accountable. So when you go off the rails and stuff, people can draw you back. That's just a caveat. But I know, and I'm pretty sure there's some people in the chat that have heard from other people. These larger names, they have endorsement deals. You know, they're gonna have contracts that might cancel on them if they speak out about certain things and pull them, you know, when that boule phone ring and they be like, ring, ring. Hey man, I'm gonna need you to just not talk about blah, blah, blah. Try to avoid the question. Okay. Like, I know you Christian, but we gonna get along. So you just skirt around. Like, they have these backroom conversations, and not everybody don't got that boule phone that's gonna ring when they get out of line. But when you put your name on that dotted line, a lot of these artists, especially the big name ones, they have these things in their head that they're like, I'm gonna lose my endorsements, I'm gonna lose my contracts, I'm gonna get in trouble, my phone's gonna ring if I say something about this. Now, it's easy to say I'm willing to die for Christ, but it is a disgrace when you worried about your endorsement deals and stuff. Like, either you bout it or you ain't about it. And so when the people that you have in mind who just conveniently never say anything, and they have a platform, and mind you, fame is hard to manage. Fame is extremely hard to manage. Look at the royal family, you know?
Yeah.
When they conveniently or just mysteriously or coincidentally never have anything to say about it, I'm not saying judge them harshly, but it is a little bit suspicious that they have the platform to speak on things that are abominable and they never do. Maybe they have some skin in the game that they're not willing to give. Or on the other hand, it's not fair to assume that everybody is really privy to what's going on in the sphere.
Right.
A lot of people are just naive, like unbelievably naive, and they have no idea what's going on. You'd be surprised how many people just aren't paying attention to issues and stuff in the world. So I guess, like, if you have an opportunity to talk to somebody, ask them, maybe if you're really curious about it. But like, I do think these bigger people should set the standard, because like Eric said, we have a standard. We have a more than 2,000-year-old religion that has established standards that nobody by now should be surprised when they hear. Like, nobody has an excuse to be surprised when they hear the standards of Christianity. We don't have a history of like, it's not normal for Christians to go killing people because they don't agree with us. You know, like, this is not the Dark Ages. You can't just keep pointing at weird stuff like that. Like, the norm is that we have a standard, we're willing to talk about it. And anybody out there who's like disagreeing, you know, my chat's always open, my phone's always open. I'm willing to talk to you. Confrontation is good. Let's have it out. Let's just do that. But I think that the people that are unwilling to speak on these issues, they have their own reasons for it. I just don't think that those reasons might be what we think they are.
Right. And I agree also with the whole, because every comment or every time someone ats you or says something you don't agree with, I don't jump out the window. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always make a running joke because there's like this TikTok of this guy who asks people different questions and they give the wrong answers, and it's simple questions like, what's the what countries border America, right? And then it'll be like, Florida and whatever, you know what I'm saying? There's always a wrong, and he'll be like, yeah, you're right. So to me, I'm like, I know people that even in the natural sense don't have wisdom or you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I just find it kind of weird that no one has like really a voice. Maybe I'm missing the people who are expressing it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Bizzle, right? Like, I've heard some songs with Bizzle where he's touched on the same-sex marriage stuff. You know what I'm saying?
And he's embattled, man. He used to drop the N-word all the time, and everybody got on his case.
Yeah.
And he didn't just break down and be like, that's just how I talk. Like, he had to learn.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, and of course, this is a different conversation than we initially started having, but I feel like there's some of the big artists, and we hear it in some of the songs too, where their focus, or they're saying that they're focused on going out into the world and trying to draw people in. So, but man, the body still needs you. I think that's something that we've lost sight of along the way. Maybe we're getting better because I've heard some people talking about it, but we still need to feed the brothers and sisters. You know, go ahead.
There's a comment from Jamie. Can you pull it back up? I don't know if you saw it. Hit the screen.
From who?
Jamie.
Oh, Jamie Urbane.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So there you go. And so, like, this is something that I brought up recently at my church, just doing like prayer and stuff like that. Once we start going back and we start talking about how we even arrived at this point, with Supreme Court signing into law same-sex marriages, et cetera, states now being mandated to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples, et cetera. What was going on during that time? I think the saints were a little distracted, and then we didn't view it as a potential threat. And again, not to get political, but it's the same tone and the same approach that individuals took when Trump ran for office. Oh man, the rhetoric, it's impossible for somebody with this type of history and the things that he's saying and the things that he's doing to actually win an election. And then he went. What happens is that we lose sight of what's going on because we're so concerned with living our best life, et cetera, not understanding that our best life is a life of sacrifice, and not understanding that, we're called to be watchmen. We're called to be intercessors. Like, these are the things that we're supposed to do. And this is not too deep. All right. So if anybody says that this is too deep, you're looking at what it is that you're doing the wrong way. This is a part of our lifestyle. So if I'm a Christian, these are the things that come along with it. If I'm a saint of God, if I'm a kingdom citizen, these are the things that come along with. This is the authority that God has given to me, and this is the authority that he expects from me to operate in. So these are things I'm supposed to be praying about. And so when I'm approached with these questions, why? Because people are always going to look to trip the saint of God up, right? You got a platform, they've got viewers, they want clickbait, etc. I need to be able to give an answer. And Eric, like you said, it shouldn't have to be me trying to figure something out. If I'm a Christian, then it's what God said. Point blank, period. But then we'll have situations where you'll have a Joel Osteen on CNN or on Piers Morgan or whoever show, hey, what do you think about homosexuality? Is it a sin? Oh, well, I'm not going to say that. I can't say we just love everybody. That's the problem.
We tiptoe. We tiptoe.
Yeah, and when you have somebody like a TD Jakes who says, I need to rethink my position. in regards to this situation because I've evolved. And I said, what are you saying? So not just from an artist standpoint, from the body as a whole. When we are presented with these opportunities, our job is to say what God has said. At the end of the day, God's word, his will, his intent, his desire needs to be voiced. So when we talk about in Jude, earnestly contending for the faith that was once delivered unto the saints, this is a part that comes along with the job.
Well, and we
let God speak for itself. No, that's our job.
And we may be evolving, but the one thing God told us is that he is unchanging.
Same yesterday, today, and forever.
Let's go.
So again, now we're saying, and we want to say in these situations, well, maybe God has changed his mind. As somebody mentioned earlier, or the forefathers got it wrong. Well, maybe the Bible does need a revision. Oh, well, wait a minute. We'll allow the alphabet people to go in and make a Queen James version. Where they're going to allow, and I'm not making this up. Google it, research it, fact check it.
Oh, wait, there's a Queen James version.
Fact check it, please. Listen, we're going to make, I don't even have to go that far. Let's talk about Zondervan, removing his and her designations out of the scripture so that it's more inclusive of a New International Version.
That was the beginning.
Can we talk about the real things that are going on around us when we, again, to that point, to Jamie's point, when we ignore these conversations? We're so consumed with popularity that we forget that we're supposed to be a people who walk in power. And power and popularity are not one and the same. Narrow is the road. Come on, y'all. So yeah, more people need to speak up about this. This is general. Whether I'm aware of a specific situation or I understand that this is an issue that's going on in the earth, I need to say what God has said. I don't have to know this person. I don't have to know what's on the latest tabloid or the front cover. I don't have to know what's going on and what's buzzing on the chats and what's trending on. I know that it's an issue. Sin doesn't change. So again, if I'm asked, I need to say what God has said. Point blank, period.
Yeah, and we need to be confident in the fact that we do have this word, like we said, and what he tells us is that his word is a rock on which we can stand firm. Right. So even though we're feeling this pressure from these other groups, right? Even though we may be feeling pressure from inside the body itself, right? Because I think at the end of the day, that's what gets me is we talk about all this other stuff happening. Dude, our house is a mess at this point. We got to fix it. And we're scared of each other, right? Some people we've got to stand up, man. We've got to stand up. So, dude, I don't know. Switch. Here's a question for you.
This was awesome.
Here's a question for you, man. What kind of music do you think Jesus listens to? Shout out Newborn Annihilator. Yes.
He only listens to Jason Upton. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard of him. Yeah, because he sends his angels like to sing while he's
from Matt Redman.
While he's worshiping. Yeah,
that's
some Misty Edwards. You know, people like that. You know what I mean?
Carrie Joe, you already know that's good.
Kurt,
I gotta think he's a Toby Mac fan, probably.
The other one to go, Fred Hammond definitely listens to Fred Hammond. He don't touch
the early Fred though.
This is totally off topic, but I just got this ESPN notification, and this is wild to me. So Jackson State just they won the conference for the second year in a row. The University of Colorado is naming Deion Sanders its next head football coach. He's leaving Jackson State.
Ain't that the dude on your wall? Or is that Barry Sanders?
This is Barry Sanders, man. Back here.
Ron Sanders.
He said, "Don't get it twisted."
Greatest running back ever. But yeah,
that's college. That's college football, right?
Good job, Deion.
Yeah, college. So
yeah,
I don't watch college football.
Dude, Switch. I love that you've been on, man. I love that you've been on. Any other questions you got for us? Because, dude, I'll turn it into the That's Not Christian after dark or something. I don't know what we call it.
The after party.
Right. Nah. I definitely enjoyed the conversation, man. I felt like Spirit was definitely with us. You know what I mean, and just guiding through this. And I'm glad that we're like-minded. Maybe if we had someone who wasn't as like-minded. It would have been interesting, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that
Well,
we're still
Yeah, this is
standing
not a
on
safe space. This is an arena. So as long as you're not throwing around ad hominem, jump on in here. Do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll admit it, man. And I'll tell you this: we reached out to, offered it to some other people, but if you're on here and you're interested in jumping on with us in a future stream, let us know, because we are going to be trying to stream more often, especially in
Yeah.
2023. Some switch ups with the podcast is happening. A lot of stuff's coming that we're going to let you know about. And if you want to make sure you catch them, there's a couple things you can do. You can, one, make sure you subscribe to our Telegram channel, because you get some exclusive information in there. I'll put that up on the screen. And if you're following us on Twitter, make sure you join the Twitter community, because you get some exclusive tweets with that info in there as well. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can go to 520collect.com and get access to all of this stuff. But yeah, man, a lot of cool stuff happening. We will invite you onto the stream. We will invite you onto the podcast. Hit us up. Let us know. Switch, man. I'm gonna be in your DM trying to get you on more
Let's
of this
go.
stuff.
Hey, bro. So
Yeah.
the question is queer Christianity. So can you be a queer and a Christian?
I don't see how. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, now, does that mean that I am going to shun you? I'm gonna discommunicate you, or excommunicate you? Nah, man. I still want to. Like, again, this wasn't about Erica Mason in particular. She just happened to be the one who said this, and we needed to address it. But if she was here, I would still be cordial. I would still be
Right.
treating her like I treat everybody.
Same conversation.
I mean, I work in the biggest high school in the biggest district of our state, man. I'm around this kind of stuff on a regular basis. I don't treat any of them any different, right? We're still cool. We still laugh. But if someone asks me directly, hey, what do you think of this? I don't have a choice on how I answer it. I have to say I don't agree.
Yeah, we can't lie.
I still think I still love you, and I hope good for you, right? But when it comes to can we have this queer Christianity as a legitimate thing, I don't see how it lines up and it coincides with the Word of God, right? So to me, that kind of is impossible.
I'm gonna fight it because souls are at stake. I'm sorry.
Yeah, zero. You had a good word the other day that I can't think of at the moment. That when you were saying, when we ask these kind of questions, how should we ask it? What was that word that you used? How does it? What'd you say?
Oh, I don't remember.
Synthesize. You say synthesize
How do you
earlier?
synthesize? Yeah, synthesize is when you take two separate entities and blend them together. It's called synthesization, or synthesize it. Synthesize. I made up a word. Synthesizing. It's like when we say something is the antithesis, it's like the opposite of it. And then there are people that will take two things that are opposite of each other and try to synthesize them. And that's just not possible. So usually when I get these kind of questions, that's the question. How do you synthesize these two things? How do they agree with each other and correlate and harmonize? How are they parallel? You tell me that, and then we'll have a conversation.
That's good.
Yeah, so Kyle Manning said it would have been nice to have had crew on this subject. Yeah, man.
They were in the chat.
Yeah, just hit us up, man.
If you're in the chat and you want to jump in, like, yo, can I speak? And we're pretty normal dudes.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. Hey, it's been good. Make sure you go to 520clip.com. Like I said, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Telegram, follow us on Twitter, tap in there. Lots of good stuff coming, including this year's Wavemaker Awards, January 1st on YouTube. We're going to be live on the Trackstars YouTube channel. We are being powered by Trackstars this year. 10 categories, and DJ Jeremiah's next up list. So you'll want to tune in on January 1st for that. So that night we will be live with the awards. Man, appreciate everybody. If you want to follow us, if you want to connect with us, take a look at the screen real quick, because everyone's Twitter handle is right there. I know.
Don't follow me.
I'm not verified, though.
You won't like it. I don't have no check mark.
Switch. You gotta pay that $8, man.
I
I can't be verified because I'm Team Android because I don't live that $1,000 plus phone lifestyle over here.
Same, bro. Don't trip.
I got some feelings about Apple, so we ain't gonna go there.
You guys saw my phone earlier.
I don't got no rotten Apple.
But yeah, man.
Tune in.
Tune in to That's Not
We
Christian
need to have
Podcast Monday.
We need to have another episode.
No, we
regarding
Apple
freedom
versus Android episode.
We need to talk about freedom of speech.
Hey, let's do it. And if you have topics that you want us to talk about, man, let us know that as well. I think you've been seeing it along the bottom here. You can email us contact@520club.com. Drop us a DM, whatever. Let us know the topics, but we're down to do that. We could. Hey, freedom of speech, and we could talk some Kanye later this week. I have found this week very fascinating when it comes to Kanye. Yeah. I'm just gonna say it. Very.
I will do it out of love and out of nothing else.
Dude, there's like I said, I'm not saying Kanye's right about everything. I'm also not saying he's wrong about everything. There's just some very interesting stuff that I've noticed between his brief appearance on Timcast and his 3 hours on InfoWars. So
did you catch that whole episode?
He's gonna make me watch this 3 hour thing.
You said you did?
It's the whole thing.
He did.
Yeah, it took me a couple of days. Like I finished it last night. I started it the day it aired and I finished it last night. So and here's the thing. Whenever you have now we're going off on this too.
Come on, it's after hours.
Was trying to wrap it up, but
we're gonna clear it up in post. Everybody go home. We got to talk.
Whenever you have that long of an interview, though, you have to really pay attention to catch everything. And even in the short, like whenever he was on Timcast at the beginning of the week, and he was on there for like 25 minutes. There was like one particular thing that jumped out at me. He says these things kind of in passing that fly under the radar, and he quickly moves on to something else. And it's like, oh my goodness, think about what he just said for a moment, though. Right?
Okay, now I'm interested.
Right? It makes me think a little differently. Well, we'll get off here. We'll hang out for a minute, but again, appreciate everyone tuning in, all the comments, everyone hanging out with us. Share. Tell people about it. We would love to see more people jumping into that subscribers so they can be a part of this. So help. Word of mouth is the biggest thing for us, man.
Eric, just 100%. Cut the stream on YouTube. Don't cut the stream on Telegram. Just cut it on YouTube.
Oh,
because we're gonna talk a little more.
I don't
get that extra sauce on Telegram.
I don't know how to do that.
Are you serious? I had it set up.
I'm serious.
I was so proud of myself about that. Like I got no controls over here.
All I see is in stream, dude. So I don't know. I guess we could go back live on
next time. Telegram. Next time we got to figure that out.
We could go back live on the Telegram though.
It's up to y'all. I'm down anyway.
You guys ever read Kyle's comments?
Dude, Kyle. Hey, shout out to Kyle, man. He's been in here.
I lost the wait. There it is.
He said the church helped create this Kanye monster. I mean,
the church helped create. I'm offended by that statement.
Hey, not the church. Zero for Hire. Zero for Hire created
specifically.
Specifically,
you give me credit for where it's due.
I understand what he's saying by that, though, and I agree with that part.
I mean,
he needs to sit down and be taught before just saying, "Hey, come and preach to at Joel Osteen's church." But whatever.
Kanye was a judgment on Joel Osteen.
Joel's 2 for 2, huh? Today.
Hey, I did buy the Jesus is King books at my local bookstore. So maybe I helped a little bit.
Yeah, you did. I didn't buy that garbage album because it was incomplete.
I kind of like it.
Finish the album and I'll buy it. Don't give me a bunch of stems. I ain't interested in that.
Oh, all right. We're out of here. 520club.com. Indie Christian Culture.